Hey there! I've spoken to a few people who were interested in signing up for Tape, but they were concerned because they use Zapier for a lot of integrations in their business. And when they came into Zapier to put it in, they looked for Tape and they didn't see it. Now, it's true that as of right now, so September of 2023, there's not a native Tape integration for Zapier, but don't worry, you can still hook things up between Tape and your other softwares. You just need to use Webhooks, which it's very simple to use as long as you understand a few basic things. And I'm going to go through this demo account here to show you two examples of how to send stuff from Tape to an outside software, and then vice versa. If there's something that happens external that you want to integrate into Tape, you can do that really easily. So the first example that I thought we would do is maybe put something onto a calendar. At the moment, inside of Tape, you can have a little calendar that shows you your tasks, but there's not really a great team-wide calendar. So maybe you want to see all the tasks of the team together on one calendar. So I'm going to come into my Tasks app, and we're just going to set it up so that anytime I add a new task in here, it posts that info over to an external Google Calendar that anyone on the team can see what tasks are scheduled in here. Okay, so let's go over to Zapier to start this process to set it up, and then I'll show you how the automation needs to be built in Tape to make this work. But if we come over, so I'm going to go into my Zaps. I've already got the outline of this set up, so a Tape task to Google Calendar. What you'll see in here is the first step is one of the Catch Webhook by Zapier. Now, do note this is a premium Zap option, so you can't do it on the free plan. You can set it up, build, and test it, but to actually use this or publish your Zap, you will need to be on one of their paid plans. It's super affordable, and if you don't already have that for Zapier, I recommend it because they have so many amazing options to connect things together. Anyhow, you're going to choose the webhook, and what you're going to set up is a catch hook, meaning this is out there and something else is going to send data. This will catch that data and do something with it, okay? And then we'll hit continue. We don't need to do anything on this option, and we have a webhook URL that they provide for us. So we're going to have to copy this, take this over, and put it into our automation in Tape, and then we'll be able to use it to proceed in the next step, saying send it to the Google Calendar. Now, before we go build the item in Tape, I just want to talk about that next step and kind of the ideas we're going to need in here. So first off, we choose Google Calendar. We tell them when this gets triggered, we'd like to create a detailed event on our calendar. And once we do that, hit continue. We have to make sure we've hooked it up to one of our accounts. I've got Abe Lincoln test account hooked up to this one here. And then we say, okay, it's going to this calendar, and we have to have the info that we need to pass through. So if you think about it, a calendar event needs like a title, probably a description. If it's an in-person go somewhere, you'd need a location, but for our task example, we don't need location. We just need to see what tasks are happening at certain times. And we need a start time and an end time, okay? All the rest of this stuff is just optional. You can choose. Does it need to be a repeat one? Does it need to take up the whole day? What color do you want it to appear on your calendar? You can play with that and choose however you'd like, right? But we have to make sure that when we go set it up in the Tape side, we're sending what we need for like a title, a description, a start time, and an end time, right? So now that we've got those ideas in place and we've kind of figured out what is happening here, we're going to go back. I'm just going to grab again, make sure that we get that URL from them, copy that. We'll go back over to Tape. So in Tape, we're going to go to our automations for the task app that we're in. I've already started building this out, but just so you can see how it comes together, what I've told it to be is triggered when something is created in my tasks app. And I went ahead and put a filter to make sure there's a due date, because if there's no due date, there's no point in throwing this on a calendar. So as long as the due date's not empty, then we're going to choose the action that's called a send HTTP request, and we're going to choose the post method. So that means that we're doing something and posting this info elsewhere to be used, and Zapier's going to catch that and do something with it, right? So we're posting it there, and this is where we come and we put our link that Zapier gave us for our webhook URL. So we're going to paste that in there. Yours is going to be different, and every time you do one of these types of flows, it's going to look a little different. But post your link in, and then your request is going to look something like this format, okay? What is the label that we're sending? So maybe it's our title or our summary, I think is what we called it. And then we have to choose a variable of what info from tape we're going to pass along in that, okay? Now, I'm just going to paste in quickly what I've put in here for this one. You can see I've got to make sure that these become the blue accepted variables, and I'm going to include the assignee name on that. So it's like task for Bob, or call this person, assigned to Carson, right? Description, we'll put the task description in there. Then Google Calendar is going to require a start time and an end time. We didn't necessarily have that in our tape setup. We just had a single due date field. You can choose on your field in tape if you want a start time and an end time. And if so, you'd pick a slightly different variable here. But I'm just going to pass the same time to each, because it's not like these are hour-long things. It's just little tasks being thrown on a calendar. So that's all I need in my tape setup, is when it's created, as long as there's a due date, pass it over to their webhook with these details. Boom. Easy. That's all I need. I'm going to save that. And we're actually going to go and we're going to set one of these to make sure that it works. So follow up with tape video. And we've got Abe Lincoln here. We're going to say that this is going to be due, we can do it tomorrow, and move this over a little. We can put a time in there, so we can say it is 2. Okay, so we put that in there, add a quick description, and we can save this. Now, based on our rule in tape, we saved that. It means that it has passed that over. Side note, sometimes I like, when I build these little flows, to put in little breadcrumb confirmations. So maybe like a little comment that says, past task details to Google Calendar. Might even put via Zapier. So then as I do these things, I can see little notes of what's happening, so I remember all those things have taken place, right? But that's not critical. We can go over here to our Zap. We should be able to come to our first step here, and we should be able to pull a new test value, and we should find new records. We should see the stuff that we just put in. Follow up with tape video, for there's the guy that was assigned. Get stuff done was our description. We have a start time and an end time in there. Perfect. We can continue with that. We're just setting up this one again. We already talked about the steps through here, so we just need to make sure that, okay, what we got in the summary gets dropped into that field. Description gets dropped there. We didn't have a location or don't need a Zoom link for this. Start time and end time get placed in there. And that's all I need. I'm going to hit continue. And I've already tested this once, but if you are building it brand new, it'll just say you need to test it. So I'm going to hit retest. And it will say, okay, it's been sent over to Google Calendar. So I'm going to open up my Google Calendar, and I'm just going to check. And we're going to see if anything appears on here. Sometimes it takes just a moment for it to show up in there. Notice as I publish this, it will publish it, but if you're on the free plan, once your trial runs out, it's going to turn back off. You can't do that when it is the free plan, because you have a premium step in it with that webhook piece. But come back over here. Let's just refresh this again. Okay, it's just being slow. Oh, you know what? I didn't put PM, so it's showing up here early in the morning. That's why I wasn't seeing it. I was looking on the calendar down lower. But here we have it. Follow up with this. We can see everything that came through there. I think I had put 2 o'clock. I must have a time zone difference from my tape to my Google Calendar. Anytime you're dealing with calendaring stuff, make sure you check your time zone settings to be sure on there, and make sure you are so putting in if it's AM, PM, all of that stuff. But anyhow, we can see that automation happening. Great, very simple. We hooked it up from tape, we put in details, and boom, it went over to a Google Calendar. So let's just make sure one more comes through. So we'll put this one, we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it at 10 a.m. Description. Okay. And you'll see this time we got that little confirmation that the automation reminded us, oh yeah, this is being placed over on the Google Calendar. We look at our Google Calendar, and here we go. I already had something else at 10 a.m., but there's test 3, and boom, it shows up right there instantly. So, super cool option to do that. Now we're going to go back and we're going to talk about what about the other scenario. So, instead of when I create a task in tape, maybe we have something where stuff occurs in a different software, but we'd like to see that in tape. So let's pretend I have an event coming up and I've sent out a t-shirt sign-up form. I maybe want to use something like a simple Google form for that t-shirt sign-up, but I'd like the info to show up in tape so that I don't have to go digging in other places. Well, we can easily hook up an integration to make this happen as well. It's just going to be the backwards process. So we're going to say when a form gets filled out, pass that info in, and so in this case the webhook is going off of the second spot. It starts in the form, the webhook is what sends it to tape. So let's go ahead and open this up and take a look. You'll have to set up your form and everything you need in the other software first. Make sure that that tool is connected to Zapier. But I've set it up for when I get a new form response from my account in Google Forms, and I choose which of the forms it is that I want this automation to be connected to, so my t-shirt sign up gets filled out, then we need to pass that along. I'm going to go ahead and send a new test through, so this will be George Washington. Let's see, he needs an extra large, and he just says he's excited for the event. So when that gets submitted, that should be enough to trigger our Zap. I'm going to test it here, make sure we get that record through. Sometimes it takes a second again for those things to connect. Make sure they get through there. Here we go. We can see George Washington with an extra large. He's excited, right? So we're going to continue now. This is where we're going to choose our second step. This is a webhook by Zapier again. But this time, what we're going to choose is the post. Last time we did a get, meaning that this was just waiting for info to come to it. Now it's posting. Because something happened, we're sending info over to tape and posting it to them. So we're going to go through. We need another URL. This time, it's going to come from the tape side of things. Okay, we'll go get that in a second. Then we're just going to have to say, we want this to be JSON. That's the best way to send it over into tape. And we're going to set up the details that we have to pass along. Now in this case, we cared about his name, his size, and any comments he shared. So we'll pass those through. Let's set it up now. In my t-shirt sign up here, I'm going to come build an automation. And I'm just going to go ahead and create this brand new. So t-shirt sign up form submitted, capture info in tape, and we're going to say this is when a webhook is received. You see tape just gives us a URL that we can use. Awesome. We'll copy that, and then we can go over, we can actually drop that in here and fill out what we want to send. So what is the name that we need to pass through? Notice Google Forms gives us a ton of info. You may want some of it, but really you're just looking for the specific ones you care about. Name, this one's going to be size, this one's going to be comments, right there. So that's the stuff we care to capture in tape. And in this case, we don't need to worry about these other items. We can just hit continue, and we can go ahead and do a test. I had already tested once, so I need to do a retest step on here. That should push it through. And once I do that, I can go back here and I can refresh from my webhook and tape, and it should show me if I received anything. Look at that. Comments, name, size, it all came through. Okay. Now we just have to do something with that. Do we need a filter? In this case, no. It's not only if it's an extra large t-shirt. So we're going to say we don't need a filter. And all we care about doing is creating a record. Where do we want it created? In our t-shirt sign up app. We've already set that up to have the fields, name, shirt size, and comments. And now we just choose it by hitting the @ symbol, saying from the webhook, whatever they passed us as the name is what we're putting there. Shirt size, be careful, because in this example it was an extra large. But if I choose that, it means that I'm going to be putting extra large for every form that gets submitted. That's not correct. We need to get the variable size so that we know what that person requested. Comments, again, we're just going to use the @ symbol. We're going to grab whatever comments that webhook passed along for us. And we can then create that automation. That's it. That's what fills it out. The only other things to be aware of might be if you want to come to your settings and decide things like, should this be silent? Like maybe you want to know every time someone fills it out, or maybe they're going to be filling out hundreds of things and you don't want alerts. You're going to go at the end of the week and run a report. So you might want that silent, right? You may have some sort of like confirmation email that goes out. Hey, George, we got your order for an extra large t-shirt. Well, if you have that automation built in tape, this should trigger that next automation. You have to decide what things you want in here and then again, hit save. If we come back, I'm going to make sure that our Zap here is ready to go and published. So now that that's live, we should be able to submit a new one. Let's try it out. So this is going to be Sarah Smith. She's going to be a small, and she just says thanks. And that gets submitted, and we'll be able to go over. We'll be able to open our t-shirt sign up app. I'm just going to refresh my page here. And, oh, let's see. Oh, that was from our other example. Sorry. Let me get this. Okay, took just a second. Sometimes those connections, you're passing through different softwares, but there we go. We have Sarah Smith. We can see that she signed up for a small shirt and passed her comments through. So just a couple quick examples to show you how you can use tape connected with Zapier. Hope that's some helpful examples. Let us know if you have any further questions.